Hi, my name is Austin Greenhill, and I will be talking about my case study report at Paradise Creek Nature Park that I did over the past year. So, Paradise Creek Nature Park is a 40-acre waterfront property that was purchased by the Elizabeth River Project in 2008. It's important to the Portsmouth community because it gives the community a sense of stewardship and connection to the southern branch of the Elizabeth River that is included in its total restoration efforts. So the challenge that is faced by the park is choosing ways to adapt to the future's most probable climate and those impacts brought upon by the climate change. So the park has a number of hazards. The park gets an annual 1,119.38 millimeters of rainfall a year, while the U.S. averages 990.6 millimeters per year total. Um, Tributyl tin and fecal matter waste are still present in the Elizabeth River as it's been used by the naval base, and fecal matter waste comes from organisms that are living. This area of Southeast Virginia is at risk for the fastest rate of sea level rise on the East Coast, so that's something that the park has to look out for, along with their subsiding land rate of 3.1 millimeters per year, coupled with their layered compact aquifer system. Um, Compacting anywhere from 1.5 to 3.7 millimeters a year, which used to be 2.5 millimeters 100 years ago. Paradise Creek Nature Park is susceptible to multiple things. This includes storm surges, invasive species such as Johnson grass, flooding and droughts, but especially flooding in the lower subsided areas of the park that are lower than the 3 foot tall grass bank. Soil components in the park vary drastically in levels of nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, and pH levels in general. So you have to be very aware of what plants need specific nutrients and pH levels. There are a number of reasons why Paradise Creek Nature Park is in the position that it is in today. Um, One speaking about the 0.74 degrees Celsius increase in the last century globally is alarming, and that increase has thus been the result of anthropogenic practices used in the 20th century and the resources required for those practices. Going along with that, our exponential population increase globally does not help the climate change impacts on the park, but especially in Portsmouth because they've had an exponential increase in population over the past 180 years. That's very large. To help keep the park running as effectively and as functionally as possible, I've recommended a plan that the park's plants that are most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change in the coming years must be analyzed and examined based on the level of vulnerability. Then park management needs to decide if these said plants need to be removed, and if the plants are going to be removed, they need to figure out what native replacement is going to be going in its place. Um, Furthermore, research based upon similar living conditions of the park compared to plant reproductive and survival rates should be conducted by all park management employees so they're all knowledgeable upon the subject. The greater the variation among native species lessens the chance a removed invasive species has of returning. The educational aspect of this option reaches out to teach individuals who are involved with the park about climate change and its effects firsthand, along with getting individuals around and in the park brainstorming their own individual ways to help adapt and mitigate climate change, not just in the park but in their general community. I do advise leaving 20% of the invasive plants that are going to be removed, just in case the new native plants do not thrive in the climate conditions that were expected. this is just a fallback plan to prepare and keep the park looking relatively green, even though it's not native. So some of the actual data that I recorded from the case study report. When I got there, we had successfully moved 9,644 square feet of uh, just land for planting, and we planted 8,124 square feet of plants. Those were a variety of baby edibles, which included blueberries, black raspberries, and marsh hibiscus. Volunteers were allowed to help excavate and come plant, and while we had those people out there, we'd have educational aspects helping and teaching them about sustainability and mitigation of climate change itself.